Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's 5 things learned, Springboks versus Ireland, a couple of takeaways, and I think there were actually far more than just 5, and a lot of very interesting individual efforts, team efforts, couple of things we learned, couple of things which sort of cause for concern. And my last point has been an interesting one, and I'm very interested to see what people have to say about it, because I think it's one thing that sort of Springbok fans are hoping is true, but might not necessarily be true. But before you start going through all the various things that I took away from the game, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe to the channel as well. We are kind of trying to chase 21,000 subscribers, which we're hoping to try and get before Thursday's SAA versus Munster game, which, by the way, is available to watch on a free-to-air channel. Go get yourself ExpressVPN, link in the description. You can connect to an Irish server, and you can watch it on Media Sport 2, Virgin Media Sport 2, or Virgin Media 2 rather, for absolutely free. No sign up or anything like that needed on Virgin Media, so that's how you can watch the game on Saturday. Now, without any further ado, these are just my 5 takeaways. So I want to know what you guys think, first of all, of my 5 takeaways, as well as what some of the other takeaways were for you. Without any further ado, this is my number 1. So again, this is going to sort of come to my last point, and we're going to be able to sort of discuss this a bit. But at the moment, Springbok mauls are just not working, and for whatever reason that is, and whether it is slightly deliberate or whether we're not trying to sort of do anything, the sort of stock standard, what's happening at the moment, it's not really working, and it's becoming quite a bit of an issue because it used to be obviously a very big weapon in the box arsenal in terms of scoring tries, and I think that has sort of been one of the main reasons that we struggled to score tries this year. But ironically, for a team that is very boring and that doesn't play particularly nice rugby, for example, we actually haven't scored that many. We've actually barely scored any more tries this year. So the Springbok maul is becoming a bit of an issue because that was usually such a sort of a key point where, first of all, a big rolling maul, if you do stop it, tends to be legal. You obviously can get penalty advantage, and then you can have a bit of a 3-roll the dice. But at the moment, it's not quite working, and we do want to try to see some changes because at the moment it is a little bit worrying that it's not quite operating at full capacity. Now, we did concede a couple of tries, which I think were, a try which we should have sort of stopped and stuff, and then obviously a maul try. I did feel that there was a marked improvement in a lot of the Springbok defensive efforts this past weekend. We saw some incredibly good defensive reads from the likes of Mapimpi, from the likes of Jesse Creel. We started seeing that rush defense a little bit more, and that defensive system, which won us the World Cup, is a very high-risk, high-reward system where it's often players coming off the line quite quickly to try and make the hit, to try and stop the momentum. And it's not necessarily to try and complete the tackle, for example. So you often do slip tackles within this system. But for me, PSF toyed up to a better. As I said, Jesse Creel and Maxwell Pimpy made some very good defensive reads. And I think that we did definitely see a marked improvement in the defensive structure. And it was very much a sort of a counter-attacking trial with a very much a scramble defense, which was our undoing, and then a poor maul defense. But I thought genuinely our defense looked pretty good against an Irish multi-phase attack. They sort of attack from different places, different sort of variations. And I thought genuinely the team actually coped pretty well with it. So the man that is under scrutiny every second week, every second day, every second hour, Willie Le Roux came on this weekend and changed the game. He did. And I think it's very much time now that Springbok fans start to come to terms with the fact that he is incredibly important and actually very vital to the Springbok attack because he just gets the backline moving. He gets the game flowing. He sees space where nobody else sees space. And the Boks have always looked far more threatening and far more likely to score when Willie Le Roux is on the field, and which is why he's got the call-up for this coming weekend. But I think that this past weekend was just another timely reminder that, whilst he has his flaws, for example, he remains probably our best attacking, asset, and we do need to look at how we can get the best out of him because he does produce a lot of attacking output for the Boks. Right, so now in theory, this is something that kind of goes away with when you bring back an Andre Parler, for example, and if Alton Yankees returns to the squad and stuff. But at the moment, there is a glaring red flag in the goal-kicking point of view. Now, we saw Damian Williamson miss 1 kick and being taken off. We then saw Cheslin Colby miss a couple of kicks. So we did miss 3 kicks this weekend. And I think the biggest issue is that not so much their goal kicking, but the fact that there just doesn't seem to be an obvious replacement apart from the likes of Maul or bringing in Johan Klaassen. I think the biggest worry is that with Frans Steyn being very touch and go as to what we can do next year, whether he'll make next year, goal kicking remains a major concern for the Boks in the World Cup because For example, you go with a sort of a 6-2 split, 100 Pollard starting, Damon Williams off the bench, or Damon Williams at 15, and Willie Le Roux off the bench. Pollard is the only recognized goal kicker and the only really reliable goal kicker, and even he has had his struggles over the last sort of 18 months. So, I think goal kicking is a massive concern. I think Springboks are going to have to look at bringing a kicking coach. They're going to have to do a lot of work on that. Apparently, they are doing a lot of work on that, but that is for me a bit of a red flag going into the World Cup without having a player or players rather even that can operate in sort of a high 80%, especially in sort of the pressure moments. So now this is something that it's a bit of a gut feel, and I kind of felt like that a lot throughout the year, that there are certain games where we have seen the Springboks play all out, flat out. I think I look at that Mbombela test, for example, where the Boks played New Zealand, and you could see from the get-go the Boks were all over New Zealand, and there was only one outcome that they had decided was going to be the case that day, and that was to win. And whilst I don't think the Boks are ever going to go into a match and say, we don't really mind if we lose this, they are still trying to win every single match. I do sort of, as a gut feeling, feel that there are certain things that are being deliberately held back. I'm hoping, for example, the maul is one thing, because we haven't really seen any variations. And I think that sort of that constant variation is something we're not seeing from the Boks. And, you wonder, is it just because there is no variation? Are we that sort of one-dimensional and we aren't really willing to add various, prongs to our attack? Or, much like Eddie Jones is trying to do, are there certain things that are being held back and we don't want to sort of show our hand too early before the World Cup? And I think it's very much become, we look at all the various teams, so much has been put towards the World Cup. Very few teams rather, are sort of going on a game-by-game basis without looking at the World Cup, given the fact that it is so close. Given the fact that, with COVID, we lost entire domestic season, so the World Cup is probably going to be closer than ever. And I think that, for example, Eddie Jones was quite open about the fact that he said, we're not going to show what we're going to do in the World Cup now. And I do kind of get the gut feeling that there is a lot more the Springboks can add if they wanted to, and can bring if they wanted to. And certain games, we've seen that. We've seen variation. We've seen a couple of different sort of moves and stuff like that. But there are also definitely certain games where we haven't. And where we could see things aren't working, we're not necessarily moving away from the plan. And maybe we're very far off. Maybe that is the plan. Maybe that's all we've got. But my gut sort of says what we've seen is this side be able to adapt and be able to bring new facets and new sort of directions to this team quite often. And so they've proven that they can do it. So the fact that they're not doing it, you wonder, are there certain things that we just don't want to do yet? Or not even necessarily if we're holding them back, we're not prepared to do, we're not ready to do just yet. It does look like a side that could do potentially more, but almost don't want to. And for whatever reason that is, hopefully that does bode well, because there are certain aspects of our game which I think can still be unlocked, can still be added to our game plan, can still be added to a final performance, which would make us a far more formidable side, which is a really good thing considering at the moment we're still competitive. We've yet to really been outplayed. We've lost a couple of games, but we haven't really been outplayed this season, which does bode well, I suppose. But that only works if come the come the hour, come the man, come the team, it actually all falls into place. If it doesn't, then you just kind of look really stupid. But hopefully that is kind of the case. But those are my takeaways. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know what yours are. Let me know what you think. And I'll chat to you guys all very soon. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you guys all soon.